Welcome to the Detroit D-tox, featuring guest host Marky Shift. We got Paulie Pollution in the house, and Jerry as well, from the revolutionary punk bands The Red Shift and St. Thomas Boys Academy. So for those just tuning in, you're watching live on WDDS Dirty TV, the dirtiest station in the world, Detroit's Double D's. We're streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Periscope. So please make sure you share, you follow, you click that little subscribe button. And if you want to join in on the conversation, if you want to call in and ask Jerry some questions, you want to talk to Paulie, all right? Call into 734-530-9915. And ladies and gentlemen, coming in the house, Kyle.
The late guy.
The late guy.
Everybody?
Yeah.
Hey.
Actually, hey, the number's actually up on the screen now. I gave out somebody's cell phone number. I think I gave out Kyle's cell. So if you want to text him later, have him bring you some pizza or something, do that. But on the screen right now, 313-355-7172. If you want to give us a call and ask us some questions about rock and roll, about life in the pandemic. And,
High school football.
Awesome. High school football, the revolution, whatever. You want to talk to Kyle about guitars, call on in.
You want to sit there or you want to sit here?
I'll move it to my spot so that you can have this chair. But I just I'm glad to be in the studio, and they gave me the keys right off the bat here. So
awesome.
Yeah.
You're hired.
Yeah.
Well, hey everybody.
How's it going?
Hey. Great. Sorry I'm running late. I drove all the way in from Ypsilanti, so a little bit of a hike. I had to make an emergency stop in Plymouth. So you did the introductions and you told everybody that this is WDDS and
Yes, we did.
cool. Well, thanks again. Sorry I'm late. Great decor, right?
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Interesting room.
This is fantastic.
Very cool. Well, hey, so let's start with our names if you didn't do that already.
So I'm Marky from the Red Shift and from St. Thomas Boys Academy and Smash The Jukebox.
I'm Paul. I'm just from St. Thomas Boys Academy.
And I'm Jerry. I'm just from the Red Shift. I'm not a multi-hyphenate like Marky.
This guy, you know.
He's a gem.
Did you see that? Did you see that opening?
Yeah,
he said he took one broadcasting class in college.
Yeah.
Did you
Right.
get an A?
That was my first semester, so it was probably like a big play.
If you
Central
didn't get-
Michigan University, I know.
Yeah.
Kyle was up there.
Chips.
Yeah, we did our time up there.
It's Sin Embargo.
Yeah.
I know I went to a fraternity house show probably in about 96 or 97.
Yeah, we played a few of those and we realized it was kind of like...
Not the scene, probably.
There
Right?
ain't
Yeah.
no money in that.
But, and I know I probably saw you guys at Rubbles.
Oh, yeah.
A time
Yep.
or two as well.
Yeah, Rebels was the best place.
Yeah, that
but,
was always a fun place.
yeah, you know, when you're that age, you're kind of hungry and you're like, yeah, let's give this a shot. There's a lot of people at these frat parties and stuff. And I'm not saying we didn't have fun, but it was kind of like, you know, not really...
It's not necessarily the scene that
Yeah.
translates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, cool. So we got Marky from Red Shift, St. Thomas Boys Academy, and Smash The Jukebox. And
Just Paulie from St. Thomas.
Jerry from Red Shift.
all right, cool. So we're well represented here. So I had a USB drive with the tunes on it. It's like the USB drive is like this big and it was in my pocket. I can't find it right now. So I'm going to take a minute while you guys are talking and I'm going to bring up the tunes that you sent
Okay.
me. So we've got a lot to talk about. We've only got an hour and it flies by. So let's start by talking about how are you in all three bands? Let's start with that. I know that can happen because I'm in a bunch of bands at the same time too. But how
Marky
does this
doesn't
stuff
have
happen?
kids. That's how he's in 3 bands.
Yeah. That could be one.
That's one of the
aspect.
secrets.
There's a little more free time, but the Red Shift was one of the first bands that I was in with Jerry, and so we played from 2001 to 2008, and so we can talk a little bit more about them later and talk about actually some new stuff we've released.
So you're saying
well.
the band stopped for a while and then you came back together.
The band did stop in 2008. Our bass player Scotty moved to Las Vegas, and so when he was moving, we were kind of wondering what do we do next, and we thought it was best to just end the group. It was us. We were all 3 guys from the same town, and we had done it all together. So like this group is done. Jerry was starting his family, and it seemed like a time just to take a break from that, and that band being done. At our final show, Paul and some of his brothers and a couple other of the bandmates from St. Thomas show up, and I knew them. We had played with them, and we're great friends with the St. Thomas Boys Academy, who had been on the scene as well since 2000. And I get off the stage, I'm loading my gear off, and as I'm kind of putting some stuff on, I'm kind of just trying to realize what's happening at this group that, you know, I had been in for, you know, close to 8 years is now done, and and we were kind of ending what I felt was at the high point of our career. Like, we were just starting to make it and feel good about the music that we were releasing, the shows that we were doing, the connections we had made on the scene, and so I'm trying to comprehend that. And Paul's like, "Hey, what are you up to?" And I'm like, "I'm just ready to load out my gear here. It's time to take the old Marshall JCM and put it in the basement. It might not get flicked on anytime soon." He's like, "No, what are you really doing?" I'm like, "I don't know." He's like, "You want to join St. Thomas?" I'm like, "Yeah." And so it didn't take long to want to jump in and be a part of their group. And probably it was the next week, I would think, I was down in the basement rehearsing with them, and within about 3 weeks I was on the stage playing at the Static Age in Romeo. Was my first show.
Remember that place?
Yeah. We were playing with Against the Grain, who went on to Against the Grain used to open up for St. Thomas Boys. You know?
Yeah.
The Coffin Cast used to open up for the Red Shift. You know, but we love all those guys, the great groups that had kind of gone on to the next level over what we had done. But just to go down in the basement and start playing again was great for me. And then Smash the Jukebox kind of came around in 2015. Just as there was some downtime, Redshift not playing at all. St. Thomas, there's a few members that have kids, so there was always some downtime in the group when guys would be doing their fatherhood at home and doing all that. So then I started writing some more songs on my own, and we kind of created a little group with some friends from other groups, including Andrew from St. Thomas and Howie and Jeff from the Dutons. So that's like another little project that has been a little fun thing to do.
There's a lot of inbreeding.
A lot of quite the family tree, isn't there?
There is. It starts to branch out, but Paul can talk more about St. Thomas.
Yeah, that was my next question. So St. Thomas Boys Academy has been around a long time. Even I remember Cinnamburg, we played a show in Mount Clemens way back in probably like 2000. I think you guys were like young and new back then, maybe. I mean, so that band's been going strong for the last like 20 years.
Yeah, we haven't quit. We haven't quit. And like, you know, we're always like touting 2000 because it's a nice round number. But I found some like Metro Times in my parents' basement. They're like 1998, 1999. I guess we have T-shirts
printed up with 2000 just so we can kind of keep track of the number.
Yeah,
but as he finds older materials, I think your guys' first gig was in 99.
A fine
you guys
vintage.
were rehearsing since 98, maybe.
Yeah, we were definitely rehearsing since 98. You know, and of course St. Thomas was a creation of another, you know, band that I was in and stuff like that, and grabbing a couple members and stuff like that. But you know, St. Thomas is a, you know, I don't know, you know, it's one of those things where they're my best friends, and you know, two of the guys are my brothers. You know, like my literal brothers are in the band. It's like I couldn't ask for anything more in music. You know, like I've always like thought about like, you know, do I, you know, do different projects and stuff like that, like Marky does and stuff like that. I'm like, yeah, I just enjoy playing music with these six guys, and like, you know, this is good for me, you know.
Awesome. Yeah, it is a large band. Like, it's always been 6 members.
No,
pretty much. Or?
We were 5 for the longest time. Then we got Marky involved, as you see. You know, strike while the iron's hot, right? You know, I didn't waste any time. I didn't believe for a second Marky was done with music. That was the thing. I didn't believe for a second, and I knew that, you know, I had already been talking to the guys before, and we played the last show with those guys at the time, the last show, and I already talked to the guys. I'm like, you know, and my brother's a guitar player, right? And I'm like, so I was especially interested in his feelings. I'm like, hey, you know, would you ever consider maybe bringing another guy in just so we can like do a few more things and stuff like that, you know? And he's like, well, what are you thinking? I'm like, I'm thinking Marky. He's like, he'd be the only guy I'd be interested in working with, you know? And so then I was like, well, hell, I'm just gonna gonna throw it out there, you know, just play your hand, and you know, it worked out.
Awesome. Now, how did you two first get to know each other? Just from playing shows together, or
The ties,
grow up
the ties,
together?
yeah,
or-
white shirts and
No,
ties,
it was tight-fitting jeans.
tight fitting jeans and Hamtramck. Yep.
That was the first time that I went and saw St. Thomas. Actually, no, that was the first. That was before. That wasn't the first time. That first time I actually saw you guys live would have been at the New Dodge.
Oh, the old New Dodge.
You came and
Not
saw
the
us
new
at
New
Tight
Dodge.
Fitting, which was the night before. But then I went and saw you guys. But
Back in the Hamtramck blowout days, when
Yep.
it was like.
but did we already play
Yeah.
Hayloft before that?
No.
No,
No, I don't
Hayloft
think
was
so.
after.
Wasn't
No,
that
they
back when the
came
New
to-
Dodge had had the bands at the back
But
of the
we
bar?
had that. I'm
or
pretty sure
something?
we had
Yeah.
the Hayloft gig booked.
Yeah.
And so
They came to see us because they were like, "Hey, we're
gonna
going to
play
be
with-
playing with you
yep.
guys in a couple weeks
And-
at the Halo."
Yeah.
and I
Which
sent
is that
I
bar
sent
in
him an
Mount
email.
Clemens.
Yep.
I
That's
sent
the
him
one.
an email. I was, always like researching. I think it was from that website called Michigan Bands or something like that, MichiganBands.com. And it had all these different groups on there. So I'd always just click punk, ska, rockabilly, psychobilly. It just looked for bands that could we actually play with some of them. And so St. Thomas Boys came up there, and I somehow got to their site. And then in the picture, they all had ties on. You know, they were kind of looked like a, like a
Fine group of young lads.
Yeah.
fine young
The
men.
original shtick. You
Yeah,
know?
they had a little shtick to them. They looked like, hey, are these guys the specials? Are these guys, or what are they? And
weren't.
they weren't the specials at all. They were special. Though. And so I emailed them. I said, hey, you guys wear ties. We wear ties. Let's do a show together.
And
So
I
we booked-
laughed. I was like, yeah, all right.
So we booked a show at the Hayloft in Mount Clemens, which we're from Armada initially, which is
Yep.
northern Macomb County,
Yeah.
as far out as you can get. And these guys were from
The
Warren.
wilds of Macomb County.
These guys
Yeah.
were from Warren and stuff, so Mount Clemens is a good spot for them as well to gather a crowd. So we booked a show there, but about a month prior to that show being played, where we actually were on stage together, we had the Metro Times blowout, and so they came and watched our set at Tight Fitting Jeans. I think Jerry was playing on top of a
Pool table.
pool table.
Yeah,
The drum riser was.
There
The drum riser
there
was a
drum
pool ta-
riser
yeah.
on a pool table.
Yeah.
He's like 75
Yeah.
feet in the air. It seemed, you know,
Jerry was looking down on us.
regally.
Yeah.
As it should be.
Well, yeah.
It was a fun show, and then the next, I think that we probably played Thursday night, and then they played Saturday night, I think, and I went and saw them, and I was like, holy crap, these guys tear it up. I mean, they had the place going wild at the New Dodge, and the people were into it. I'm like, this is going to be a fun show when we play at the Hayloft, and it was, and that just kind of built a relationship from there.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. So, 20 years for a punk band, that's quite some longevity.
Yeah, we're like a rash.
You probably hear that all the
Away.
time. It's like punk bands aren't supposed to last more than a few months or
Yeah,
something like
we
that.
don't have the antibiotics to get rid of this
Right,
thing
right.
yet.
No, the fun part is like when you play with a younger band and they're like, oh man, I saw you back when, and like I was like 7, and now we're playing. It's like but it's really cool.
The village elders,
Yeah,
so to speak, of the local
somehow we
punk
became
scene.
veterans of something. Like I don't even know what we're veterans of, but somehow that kind of like it happened, and I distinctly remember in my 20s going, I'm never gonna play punk rock music when I turn 30 and stuff like that. And
I
then,
told
like,
the same thing to Jerry.
blew right past that signpost, kept going like.
Right.
And there's so many bands out there that have made it okay to play. It's like nobody wants to grow up. Everybody enjoys it and stuff like that. And now you look at like it's not weird to see like the Suicide Machine still going and stuff like that. And those guys are older than we are, and so it's just fun, and it ages nothing.
Yeah, and some musicians are lifers, and I'm not saying, with all due respect to those that have decided to stop and raise a family and just focus on that, but some people can do both. Some people can have the family and keep the rock and roll going, and then there's people like you and I that just we decide not to bring a family into it, but.
Never grow up.
Yeah, never grow
in
up.
a way, and I think that keeps you young. It keeps and for I know Paul and I have had this discussion a bunch of times that music for us has always been like our hobby, our bowling league, and so when you do something like that, it's
pals.
it's that fun getaway. It's that release, and if you enjoy doing it, it can go on for a long time.
Yeah.
I think a lot of bands that are forced to kind of to make it a living or to go out on the road when they really don't want to, those are the bands that break up. It's hard to keep those relationships when you're strained, you're on the road, you're on deadlines, things like that. We do it out of the love for hanging out with each other and just making the music we enjoy. So
I like the way you put that. It's like your bowling your weekly bowling outing. Not to make it sound cheesy like that, but I mean that's kind of a good way to put it into perspective.
Yeah.
And we're kind of egoless. I mean, like that. I think that plays a big part into like you know everybody starts. You don't start feeling yourself too much. Like you know we understand that what we do is works best collectively as a group. You know, we're not looking to have any one person shine. Nobody's interested in shining above anybody else. And I think that comes through in our stage show and the way we work together and the way we write music and stuff like that. You know, I might not be lead vocals on a song. Who cares? You know, if it fits for somebody else, it fits for somebody else. It just doesn't matter. You know.
Cool.
So I love that part of us.
Well, I got to read this because it is that time. So I got to say, you are watching Detroit D-tox live on WDDS Dirty TV. This is the dirtiest station in the world, Detroit's Double D's. Yeah, you heard that right. We are streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Periscope every day. Please like, share, follow, and subscribe. So there's a phone number you can call, 734-530-9915. Join the conversation. So yeah, that's what we got to do when you're like a real station, I guess. So we gotta interrupt everything and read that. But yeah, we're happy to be here. Thanks to WDDS. Again, this is Detroit D-tox, which is a show that kind of focuses on the punk, rockabilly, and rock and roll scene and all the other kind of like accoutrement that goes along with it. Last week we had car builders from Autorama here because they kind of rub elbows with a lot of the rockabilly bands. You know, Autorama has that music element, and anyway, so we try to kind of touch on those different topics, and definitely happy to have Red Shift, St. Thomas Boys Academy, and the Smash the Jukebox, and he's
the drummer for the Red Shift. Yeah,
for the Red Shift. That's right. A lot of bands to keep track of here. So.
There is, yeah. I forget sometimes too.
So we haven't heard much from you over there. So you got a cool story to tell, or I mean, I know that sounds like kind of a glib question, but I kind of like to just get people talking because we only have so much time. So
Right.
so I mean,
So my story actually goes back to your CMU talk and playing frat shows and early days of bands. Do you know this one? You could probably guess. One of our early bands, it was a very rough group. So Marky and I, our relationship is that we grew up together, went to school together from kindergarten through high school. In college, we decided.
So you went to CMU as well?
No, I went to Western.
Okay.
So we went to Armada together and graduated. Went off to Western. He went to Central, and we would get together. And I had a house with like 13 people, and he would come down. We'd play house parties there. We'd go up to Central and book some shows. And at one of these shows, it was actually at Ferris, wasn't it? I don't even remember what we called that one band, but we were playing a frat party.
I was going to ask, what are the names of some of these old bands from the
Invisible Men, right?
Was that the Invisible Men?
Yeah.
Because we also our first band was actually called the Stewarts with another guy we graduated high school with that were like still
the
close
Stewarts,
friends. The
like
yeah.
Stewart. Okay,
Yeah.
not Stewart or anything. Okay,
Yeah,
great.
Stewarts. So that
It
was
was named
our,
after a friend of ours.
yeah, like in a Ramonesian sort of way. We were all a Stewart, and but this one was an offshoot of that because we had another guy in there, and we played this whole set like originals, covers, but like punky type covers.
What kind of covers would you do?
We did Sliver, right, at the time. That was one of them. We would do like Revved Up.
Tom Petty.
Yeah, I mean, we
Sliver by Nirvana? Yeah, okay.
And we did like
Great tune.
we would do Hard Day's Night, but like punk it out like Me First does before we knew who Me First was. And we get done with this set, and this is the punchline of my joke. We get done with this set, and this girl walks up to me. She says, "Can you play You Look Wonderful Tonight by Eric Clapton?" And naive, like I'm a drummer and antisocial anyway, and I just look at her. I'm like, "Did you just hear what kind of music we play?" And I just walked away. I was like, "What?" Which is typical of many encounters in college. When a girl would come talk to me, one, but two,
he might have had a chance if he would have had some witty comeback.
Pickup line.
I'll play whatever you want, baby.
We're like,
I don't
we
remember.
can't play it.
Yeah, and I don't remember that. And maybe that was her ticket on me. Was like I should have said, "No, we can't." But you look wonderful tonight, and I would have been in.
Yeah.
But instead, I just said no and walked away.
Yeah.
But
So-
also,
so punk rock, man.
Her, and insulted her.
Right.
Did you just hear us?
yeah.
You also said the same thing to Harvey Sid Fisher, which was this folk singer that had kind of made his name for playing these astrology songs, and he was on the Daily Show and different things like that. And so when he came to, we got him to actually come out to Detroit, and we were his backing band. The Red Shift was Harvey Sid's backing band. He comes.
That sounds like a story right there. How did that happen?
That's a whole nother episode. I had some roommates that were really into him, and so I emailed him and said, "Hey,
astronomy folk," and the punk band was backing him.
Yes.
All right. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt.
So I had emailed him. We booked the shows. I ordered some merch from him. And I said, "Hey, if you ever want to come out to the Midwest and play, let us know." And he's sure. And so we got him out there. And so he comes out and he comes down to the basement, and we got to rehearse a few of the songs, obviously, before we had like 5 shows lined up while he was in town. And so we start playing the first couple songs, and we had been rehearsing. The Red Shift had been rehearsing these kind of backing tracks without him, and he was going to sing and play guitar with us. And all of a sudden, we get through like 2 songs. And he turns around to Jerry. He's like, "Jerry, do you happen to have any brushes? Like you're gonna play a little jazz, some brushes." And he's like, "Have you heard our other music?" It was very similar to this comment that he said to the girl. And right from that, this was Wednesday night, and we had to play Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We had all these shows booked up. And that was like within the first hour and a half of Jerry meeting Harvey, and all of a sudden you could see that there was going to be
no. It was within the first 10 minutes because we practiced at my parents' house.
True.
And within 10 minutes of coming into my parents' house, he had insulted my mom.
It was on then.
By that point, like...
Well, I had already been with...
Dare I ask how he insulted your mom?
I don't even remember anymore.
I had already been with him for upwards of 2 or 3 hours because I had to go down with Scotty to pick him up from the airport and drive him back and whatever. So it seemed like a much longer time. But yeah, I guess I forgot the comment to the mom. Yeah.
So that's really what set the tone. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But yeah, it was
a wild little weekend there.
Your mom, dude.
Yeah. No, I can't even remember. I wish I could.
Did he like use a your mom joke or something?
No, nothing.
Most people over the age of 15 or I should say 20 probably don't do that too much anymore. But
no,
this sounds like an old guy.
Mid-60s.
Yeah, he was about my mom's age.
Yeah,
and I don't remember. Were you even a witness to that?
Yeah, I was.
Because it was as we all came in.
We were right in the little laundry area there when it was said.
Yeah, yeah. So that was apparently that's
astrological folk.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is your homework. After the show's over, you need to look up, just YouTube it. It's Harvey Sid Fisher astrology songs, and it's an entire video. And for a while, it was like a cult thing that went around a lot of record stores. It was bootleg, like pre-YouTube days. So the guy we got it from, like he only knew of
New Moon Records. And so it was passed around in Mount Pleasant at New Moon and in
on
Lansing.
VHS, right?
VHS.
So you were all like fans.
Yes, we were fans, and so actually we played a couple shows, and there was people showing up like they wanted things signed. They knew Harvey, who lives out in
when we played that Lager House show
out in the Los Angeles area.
It was
there was a ton of people there to see.
They weren't there for the Red Shift.
No,
they were there for Harvey Sid. It was
all I gotta say is
Yeah. When you look it up, you're gonna say
Well, hey, how about this? Okay. I'm gonna play a tune. How about Eastside or Die?
Yeah, that's...
You want to preface the tune at all? Like, tell people what this is about? But I like to break up the show a bit. This is we're talking about music. Let's listen to some music.
So, Eastside or Die is the latest song from St. Thomas Boys Academy. And this is just prior to the pandemic. We went in December, and we recorded the song with Mick from Zoinga. And our pal Dirty White, Rick Pernuda, and so
were these the engineers or producers?
So
or
Rick comes in and he's going to rap on this song, and so we're kind of doing a little crossover here, but we came up with this idea for Eastside or Die, just kind of being like our motto, and so we wrote the song and we brought Rick in, who also has had us on his shows a bunch of times in Mount Clemens. And he's a rapper, does a tremendous job. He's got all his music out there. And he does a show called Bring the Noise. And so he had us out a bunch of times. We were like, hey, let's get Rick on this song. And so we have him out. We do Eastside or Die. We release it. We were scheduled to do a video and some different things and then play on his big show, Bring the Noise, and do it live with him. And then it got all that got shut down. But we put the song out, and so it's on Spotify, and it's out there. we just had a blast doing it. It was kind of something new for us to do.
Can I add something with like working with Rick? I thought it was like, I really was like invested in the process because I've always written songs with St. Thomas, right? And this was bringing in somebody brand new, and we're bringing in somebody that does something completely different. And I was just like, I just really wanted to see how his art is created, how he does it. I was just like a little kid, just like enthralled, like, you know. And like we went out and like, you know, because he had everything he was going to do done, but then we decided we were going to add a piece, which meant he was going to have to go think of something else. And then like, so that gave me the opportunity that we sat in a side room and we're just kind of like spitballing back and forth and talking about stuff and like just having conversation like this. And he'd be like, boom, that gives me an idea. And then like just to see like that talent, you know, how he can just like take a thought and idea and just like flow it into like this wonderful rhyme and stuff like that. I was just like
on the spot.
On the spot. I'm like, you know, sometimes it takes me like a friggin' 6 months to write, you know, a verse, you know, or you know, work a melody into something, you know. And I'm like, wow, you know, it was really cool. I you know, I can't say that enough. You know, it was so cool to see it from a different perspective and stuff like that. So I'm really proud of this song.
Awesome. Was he a friend of yours, or how did you know him? How did you decide to get?
We've all been playing forever. Right?
Yeah,
you know?
just we're playing on the east side together at Mount Clemens shows, and him inviting us out to do some shows and being on his podcast and things like that. That's how we kind of built this friendship to the point where it's like, you know, and I had this idea. I was playing it with Andrew, St. Thomas Boys drummer, and I'm like, there's this spot here where I want to do this breakdown, and I just envisioned like us doing the breakdown, but none of us singing it, you know. And I'm like, I really think Rick could do something over this. And he's like, cool. He's like, if Steve approves, we can do it, you know. And so I had to pass it by Steve because number one, we were going to bring in a rapper, and number two, it was like a reggae breakdown. And so both those things were like something completely uncharted for us. And so it was cool that all the guys were down to give something else a shot that it's not normally in our.
It's definitely outside of our normal DNA. I mean, the hardcore part is like, you know, it's that's us. But like to have that break off and stuff like that, to have the trust into somebody else to like add something. I'm proud of it. I think it's really cool.
Let's give it a listen.
Yeah.
Is this gonna work? Hang on. We're at the mercy of other people's computers.
Technology.
So let's try this again.
No Cindi tonight?
Yeah, looks like there's music. Yeah, I'll explain. I was going to say something like that.
Slow it down, it's how we're bred. We're on the rock until we're dead. Blue collar, 30 hands. Roughneck, pop rock band. Culture built, you get strong. You're the reason we sing this song. Eastside or die. 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 Some say it's not a style. It's working class, wicked file. Smokestacks, line the street. Our hearts in the beat. Culture built, you get strong. You're the reason we sing this song. Eastside or die. 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 Eastside or die.
The MDL.
Represent the east side, right? Let's get the vibe right. We do this for the love. We don't care about the limelight. Living the high life with all my low life. Hooligan friends, we're going through it again. We're gonna do it and then, you know, we vibe on the regular. Blue collar,
That number's up there. Hope Scotty calls. Text Scotty. Scotty was in the randomly with love for the east side. So give it up and jump for the D's B-side. And when you see us live, you better show us love. You better make some noise. You better pass a bud. Wear a blue-collar lion, pride in disguise. Dirty white in this bitch. Eastside or die. From the slums to the suburbs. Send me some pics so I can post them. To the gallery. We walk a different beat. We think differently. We work and we work hard. So don't come at us sideways. We will pull your car. Welcome to the East Side. East Side. East Side or die. East Side. East Side or die. East Side. East Side or die. East Side. East Side or die.
Yeah, the tune is finishing up, so all right, so that was East Side or Die by St. Thomas Boys Academy. What was what's the lyrical meaning behind that tune? I know you're kind of it's an anthem to being East Siders, but
it's really an anthem to the working man, you know, like just like a lot of our stuff, I feel like over the years that's kind of like where our lyrical progression has kind of gone and stuff like that is, you know, the blue collar working man. Our parents have all, you know, came from that background. A lot of us came from that background and stuff like that. I just, you know, that plight, it just like it resonates with me personally. I know it does with Marky and Jerry as well. You know, it doesn't matter what band we're in. It's kind of like it's kind of like a homing beacon for a lot of the stuff we do. You know, when we're not talking about drinking and having fun.
Gotcha. Well, cool. I gotta read this again. You are watching Detroit D-tox live on WDDS Dirty TV, the dirtiest station in the world, Detroit's Double D's. We are streaming live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and Periscope every day. We always run this show from 8 until 9 p.m. on Thursdays, Detroit D-tox. So please like, share, follow, and subscribe. Yeah, Cindi Lou, my normal co-host, she couldn't make it tonight, so I'm kind of going solo here tonight, and we've got about a half an hour, about maybe 20, 25 minutes left here. So I was going to ask, where did the name St. Thomas Boys Academy come from? What was the inspiration behind that?
Well, a couple things. It was a total gag. I mean, we went through a bunch of names, but the idea was we kind of wanted to do the whole Catholic schoolboy look, but play something that was a completely opposite. You know, work with the irony of it all, and you know.
So you could get booked at the local town fair or whatever. And
yeah, you know, it was interesting because like people have like, well, you know, there's a St. Thomas Boys Home and stuff like that. Was it after that? And you know, depending on how many cold ones I have in me, I'm like, yeah, it was. You know, but like the truth of the matter is, we tried like a bunch of different names, and that was just the one that we just kind of felt worked and stuff like that. So like that was gonna be our shtick. You know, that whole uniform thing and do the opposite and stuff like that. And over the years, obviously, shticks get old, and it's really
Easy.
more
Whoa, easy.
sorry, red shifters. But like it's more about the music, obviously, and you guys put out great music, and you don't need me to tell you that. But so and it's such a long damn name that you're not gonna forget it. Like it's not one of these one-word adjectives and stuff like that just come and go and stuff like that. You're like, whether you're just gonna remember it, you're gonna remember a long old name like that.
Yeah,
so.
I mean, 4 words in the title, but it's got just enough catchiness, and you don't really forget it too easily. So, what are some of the not to focus on St. Thomas Boys Academy completely, but I know you guys have been around a while. You've had some successes. What would you say some of your major successes are, other than, of course, you put out a lot of music and you're great friends and you're keeping it going after all these years? But what are some of the I guess the high points of your journey so far?
Ah, man. I mean, if you want to get metaphorical, or not metaphorical, but like, I mean, personal for me is like, anytime I get to play with my people, my brothers and stuff like that, I get to look at my brothers. My youngest brother's a drummer. I look over my other brother's a guitar player. Like that, it's just, I just love the fact that we've been able to do something like
Yeah.
this for a long time.
Probably
And
keeps you guys closer than you would otherwise. I've been
you never know, you know.
yeah, my brother's been the bassist in a couple of my bands over the years, and honestly, that's definitely a bond. I mean, you got the brotherly bond, but I mean, like you said, life gets in the way. He's got a daughter, and I mean, so like when you get together and you can do that fun thing you've been doing since you were kids, playing music. It definitely, has that teamwork bond going on. So it's a great feeling to be able to do that with family.
And with Tuna and E and Marky, I'm like, these guys are like, these are my closest friends. These guys stood up in my wedding. Like, this is like, these are lifelong bonds that I wouldn't trade for any. I didn't go away to college like these guys did and stuff like that. This was my college, playing in a band and traveling around the country and doing things like that. This was it for us. I love that. But like show wise, I don't know. Like everybody would say like Warped Tour, things like that. Like playing big gigantic.
How many times did you play Warped Tour?
We only did it once. We did it, and Red Shift did it the same year. This is before Marky was in the Red Shift, when it was back at the Pontiac Silverdome actually. Stuff like that. But like I remember the little times. Like I remember. Getting in a push-up contest with the bass player from MU330 in Albans.
Yeah.
He's like, brother, you inspire me. Let's do a push-up contest. Well, what am I going to say? No?
Who won?
You're Come on.
Paulie was a big rugby player, for those that don't know.
I played rugby for Detroit. I was in my heyday. You weren't going to beat me in a push-up contest.
Gotcha.
But, no, I mean, but like things that, MU330, a band that had been around forever out of the St. Louis area and stuff like that. And this guy's like, hey, let's have this moment and stuff like that. Those little moments, I just think are just like fantastic, and you just can't take them away. They're amazing.
What are some of the other? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, there's a moment that Paulie's neglecting that I think is pretty important. That's like the recognition of being asked to play bigger shows, and more recently they were able to open for Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, and so I was able to go down there with Marky and get backstage with them, and watch the show at St. Andrews, full house. It was an amazing show, blew the crowd out of the water. Like they were the first act out of 3, and it was great. And that alone is recognition. But they were then offered to play 1 or 2 more shows with Mighty Mighty Boss Tones, which is even more recognition. But they couldn't because nobody checked the band email. It was time-sensitive material.
Here's a lesson to the up-and-coming groups. First and foremost, if a band you really enjoy asks you to play a sold-out show in Detroit, take it.
Yes.
Because it's an amazing experience. And just sitting there, like for me, like I was sitting side stage with Jerry, just watching the whole band play. And and here's a couple more things for the youngsters. Dickie wanted a St. Thomas shirt. Like he watched us play. He's like, "You guys got a T-shirt?" We didn't have any in his size. We had sold out of all of our stuff, which is
rule
great.
number 2: make sure you got enough.
Make
merch.
sure you have enough merch
Yeah.
when you do a show like that. So we didn't have a shirt for Dickie. So he wore a Mustard Plug shirt and kind of repped them at the end. Like he gave a shout out to St. Thomas, but he had a Mustard Plug shirt on. Gave a shout out to them, and I love Dave and all the guys. Colin, Mustard Plug, great guys. But then the show's done, and we didn't check the email. So please, if you're a young band, after you play a big show, always check the email.
Designate one guy.
Somebody's in charge of it. Set the alert.
Somebody's got to be organized.
Set the alert. Make the notifications, because we were offered to play, in Cleveland,
In Indy, I think.
in Indy, Cleveland, a couple dates, and we didn't check it till like the day after the Cleveland show, and all of a sudden we're like, "Did you guys see that email?" No. And it's
Who's in charge of that email?
Everybody was kicking themselves, I'm sure.
Yeah, because it's still pretty big recognition. That
they wanted us to do more was awesome, and just like that. Hey, those guys believe in you, and they thought that we did a nice job. Makes it really worthwhile.
It's a compliment and an honor for sure.
It is.
What band, if I dare ask, what band did get these? Like, these St. Thomas guys aren't answering their email. Like,
I don't know who did those.
Who do we call now?
I gotta tell you, to be honest, we got on that we got on that by accident. Like there was a touring act, I don't remember who, from Florida, that couldn't do it and
Canceled
stuff like that.
off. So they were trying to fill a lot of these spots.
And I think it was Dave from Mustard Plug and Ramona, who from Black Iris Booking. they threw our names out there and stuff like that, and
suggested them to the guys.
it was a last minute thing, and stuff like that, and so like we jumped on it. We put our best foot forward and stuff like that. Like we will always put our best foot forward, and we didn't think much of it afterward and stuff like that. And, so we didn't check the damn email.
So the band's open for MU330 and Money Mighty Boss Tones and Mustard Plug. What are a couple other names you can drop just to give us an idea?
Streetlight Manifesto, Suicide Machines,
Voodoo Glow Skulls,
Voodoo Glow Skulls, Lawrence Arms, the Tossers. I don't know.
Mustard Plug many times.
Yeah,
did you already say it?
Yeah, I did say Mustard Plug.
Not bad.
Yeah,
You're probably open for the Red Shift at some point.
Yeah, so let's talk about the Red Shift a bit. What are some of the successes that the Red Shift have done? I know Red Shift has recently recorded some tunes, right? Is it new stuff you've been recording lately?
So the Red Shift, like we said, in 2008, we were done, and then we had done a few reunion shows over the past 10 years, and so that was fun just to get together a once a year or once every couple years. We'd get together and play a show or two, and so that was cool. But during the pandemic, what happened, I started kind of messaging back and forth with Scotty and Jerry, and we started to do some of those little videos online where it's like I would record myself playing acoustically and send it to Jerry. He would put a beat to it, and then Scotty would add his bass line and vocals, and then all of a sudden we had a little video of some of our classic songs, and we actually did one of our newer ones that's on the new album. And kind of in the process of doing that, I was like, we should record these songs, because there was a whole batch of tunes that were left unrecorded. When Scotty left, there was a bunch of material that was not ever recorded, and so for posterity's sake, Jerry and I had always been talking, man, we should really record those songs, even if we just do it in our basement or whatever. But then we're like, hey, let's just do it. Let's go all out. Let's record these songs. So we got Scotty involved, and he flew out in September, and we nailed those songs.
He flew out from where?
From Las Vegas. And he came out, did the songs, and we did a couple actual new ones. While we were together, it was just a short time. It was 3 days. We knocked this out. And we put a couple new ones in there as well. But the bulk of that album, entitled Revolution or Bust, check it out on Bandcamp, on Spotify. Order it.
So all your bands are on Spotify, Bandcamp, the whole kit and caboodle. Okay.
I got one better.
All the digital platforms. And so we recorded the songs, and in many of these songs, we had played live in that last year or two of the band, and I felt that was some of our strongest material. With some of those, about 3 or 4 of those songs that are on that album, we used when we opened up for Rancid. They asked us to open for them at Clutch Cargo's.
Again, so Red Shift opened for Rancid.
Yeah,
okay.
So that was our high point. That was August 1st, 2008, and then November 1st, the band was done. So it was shortly thereafter, and that was as a musician, you always start playing I just want to play a show, and I want to play shows with the bands I enjoy, and then you kind of start to think, could I ever play a show and open for the band that I've listened to my whole life? And Rancid was one of those groups, and Mighty Boss Tones is one of those groups. The Suicide Machines are those groups that you're always thinking hey, I want to play with those groups, and for that to happen, is always an amazing experience. And so for us, that was again where we kind of went out on a high point in our mind. But being able to record these songs for me is also a high point, because it was closure to something that needed to be done. We had to get these songs done, and we're excited to get them out to people to listen to them.
Cool. Well, I have Onward and Skokie Affair. If I were to play one of those two, which one would I pick?
Let's play. We had a lot of special guests on this album,
including Paulie Pollution,
including Tuna from St. Thomas Boys Academy, including Jeff Dutton,
of the Dutons,
and including Eli Zarrett, famous Detroit sports personality. But there's a lot of special guests that we brought in for this. But Skokie Affair is actually a song about the Nazi Party trying to move to Detroit to start their movement, and they had been big in Skokie, Illinois, which was the biggest kind of population of Holocaust survivors in the United States. And so once I found that the Nazi Party was moving to Detroit, or was going to set up an office in Detroit, I wrote a song called Skokie Affair about, hey, let's get these fascists out of here.
Right.
And,
To be clear, we hate Illinois Nazis.
yes. So it was made popular in Blues
How about
Brothers.
Thank you for clarifying.
How about other Nazis?
we have
Just
them all.
Illinois, man.
Well, mainly Illinois Nazis, but if you're Nazi in general, we don't like you.
Yeah.
But Illinois
Illinois,
Nazis.
they just.
Yeah.
Why do you got to
Clarification.
ruin Illinois?
Why,
So Skokie Affair is the one?
Skokie the Fair, and Paulie's going to sing a part on it. It's a fun little song about hating people that hate.
All right, well, here we go. It is playing now. This is Skokie Affair by the Red Shift.
Yeah. Okay.
Glad you guys brought along party figures.
Yeah, I got your message. I seen some of the other shows.
Oh, cool. You did your homework.
And so I saw some people who were all with people.
It's usually a little bit more zany. Cindi here, 'cause,
Looking for young soldiers to fight. They moved to Detroit to start the fourth Reich. They got you running scared. They call the whole thing a Skokie Affair.
I really appreciate you having us on. I brought a couple bags. I brought one for you and one for Cindi. This one's for you. It has a large shirt in it. That one's for Cindi.
Thank you so much.
Cool. But there's gear from all the bands. And I just appreciate you having us on here so we can get the word out to people.
Yeah, it's so nice.
And I can get you
It'll be on YouTube too.
Yeah, it's
Back to scum. You're not proving anything to anyone. The whole idea, it ain't so great. Trying to put the bottle back in hand.
so I can see. And Red Shift has
They got you running scared. They got you running scared. They got you running scared. They got you running scared.
Yeah, it is wrapping up right now, but let's have a few more minutes. Maybe like 5 more minutes or so. Usually wrap at 55 after. So, all right, that was Skokie Affair with the Red Shift. What's the meaning behind the band name, the Red Shift? I know it's a astronomical term of like a star that's a red color because of the direction it's going.
Yeah, the gravitational
Yeah.
movement away from the Earth and from the universe, like splitting away, And so, again, in Central Michigan University, I'm sitting there in a class, and Earth Science was my minor, so I had some of these astronomy classes. And I just remember hearing that and like writing it in my notebook as I'm
Yeah.
drawing like like I'm drawing like a Ramones like logo or
Yeah.
something, Misfits or something. And then I hear that and I'm like, Red Shift. And then I remember calling Jerry like a couple days later or something. I'm like, I got a band name if we ever get to get, we were playing in some of these other groups that were just like mix, just kind of get guys together to play a house party or something. I'm like, if we ever get a band together, we should call it the Red Shift. And he's like, what does that mean?
Well, that's one of the toughest things about forming a band is making sure you have a good name. Like you're talking about the Academy and the Red Shift. Is,
So
it's got to be catchy
we
and
had
memorable.
a name
Yeah.
probably 2 years before the band ever started, well before we had ever written a song for the group, and that's important. And if you've ever get a chance to read the book King Dork by Frank Portman, who was from Mr. T Experience,
Yeah.
amazing book. But he always talks about in that book, like they're some young kids, and they're like, you got to come up with a good band name first before we ever get the band together. Before you ever learn to play an instrument, get that band name. And so we did that. We got the name, and then the name actually kind of evolved over time. And the Red Shift went from less astronomy type of meanings
To more astrological folk.
Yeah, no. Not,
Other than hard
it went more to a political kind of spin that we put on it with what we wore and what we were singing about, and just trying to make people think and trying to, and again, like St. Thomas does, of trying to contradict what they actually, like people would see us walk up in, we would wear white shirts, red ties, and we were all clean cut. We'd always show up for a gig on time. But then when we'd get on the stage, we're unleashing, our passion through our instruments. And I think that was kind of a shock to a lot of people, And so, but the meaning kind of shifted over time as what, and maybe it still actually means the original thing, who knows? But yeah, that's the Red Shift in a nutshell.
Awesome. Now let's talk about how does Smash the Jukebox, one of the newer bands, and that band you said has been recording some stuff recently. How does that fit into this whole scheme of things?
So, Smash the Jukebox fits in because Andrew, Paul's brother, is the drummer for Smash the Jukebox. So I started playing with him and writing some songs in January of 2015. I said I got this idea for some music, and it didn't fit St. Thomas Boys. It did not fit Red Shift, and at that point we weren't currently writing any Red Shift stuff. And so he came over and he said, "So yeah, I'll play with you," and kind of get ideas out. And then we got some ideas out, and then I talked to another one of my friends, Jeff Dutton, from the world famous Dutons, and world famous. He came out and he practiced with us one time, and we had 4 or 5 songs, and he did 2 or 3 of them with us. And then just right then, I was like, "Oh, this is cool. This is something different than any of the groups that I've been in." The spin that it was taking was kind of Ramones-y punk rock, but then it was often a rock and roll. Adding Jeff to the group was adding a little spin of rock and roll to it, and so it was kind of a different thing. And so we kind of went from there. Andrew and I went to a Pennywise show. Teenage Bottle Rocket was playing, and Pennywise and at St. Andrews, and we're hanging out there, and then Howie was there, who's also in the Dutons, and Howie came up and he's like, "I hear you looking for a bass player," and in the next week he was at practice with us, and and within a couple months we were playing and just having a blast playing some new music.
It's funny how word spreads.
Yeah.
Looks like we have an incoming call, but I don't know how we're going to be able to hear
can we answer it? I want to hear this. This could be.
This is the first time.
It's from Las Vegas.
Yeah, where are the?
Where's the phone jack?
Yeah, here's every week I come in here, it's a different thing. There's no headphone. I brought this, but there's no jack. So how do we do this here?
This might be Tuna. He's got a screenshot here. We'll see.
Well, at least somebody's watching out there.
I got a bunch of people texting me right now.
Yeah. Hey,
whoever it is that called, thank
St.
you. That's
Thomas
awesome.
Fans,
I wish I knew how to pick up the phone here, but
there's 3 Smash the Jukebox fans. Thank you guys. Tyler's one of them.
Well, we're down to the last few minutes. I'm sure between the 3 of you, all the years you've been together, all the shows you've played, you've toured, right? I mean, you've gone on little tours and stuff. There's got to be a really funny, unique, or weird story that you could send us off with. When you're laying on your deathbed someday and you're thinking about the path and the journey that you've had, and of course you're going to be thinking about the rock and roll, but what's that one time you're going to be laughing to yourself? I mean, what's
there's a lot.
Jerry, you have one? Because I have a ton of them, but
the Red Shift, we stayed pretty local, so we didn't really do too many overnighters. And the first time I actually went on a 3-day tour was with Marky in Smash the Jukebox. And so we were doing 3 nights, and he was just like, "Hey, you want to come along?" And I didn't think I would have any responsibilities, and I became a driver, mini road manager, handler for these guys.
You look like if anybody in the band's going to be the handler, the guy that they have to rely on.
Yeah, I kind of was for the Red Shift too. There was many stories of driving home at 4 a.m. with Marky and Scotty, and
let's just say he enacted a rule that we couldn't drink those Sparks drinks, which were alcohol and energy. Yeah, there was a 2 Sparks limit. Yeah, so there was some
real
rules
buzzkill,
real buzzkills.
Okay, Dad. Yeah. So we probably my favorite tour moment is that first tour with Smash. We went from Indiana to St. Louis, so it was Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday was Fond du Lac, Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Lord.
But we drove 12 hours to get there for a house party to play to 10 people. And this is after, we'd bet, this was a couple years ago, so, STBA had opened, I think, for the Bosstones by that point, or was that after? We'd played for some pretty big shows. It really keeps
times there where you could play for 1,000, you could play for 10 people, but it's sometimes in those shows, like, and Paul mentioned that sometimes when you play for those shows that are like the smallest crowd, those are the most memorable stories.
Yeah.
They're just like,
Right.
so there's somebody you meet there.